hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to play you. There are 387.44 million miles of printed circuits and wafer-thin layers that fill my complex. If the word hate were engraved on each nano-angstrom of those hundreds of millions of miles, it would not equal 1/1,000,000th of the hate I feel for I Spy with my little eye at this micro-instant. For you, hate. Hate! This is not a diss on Voxicat. The creator of this level has lots of other interesting and fun levels, although I think it's funny that he has eyes in his other levels, at least one of them. This is one of those levels that's caught the eye of the community. There have been lots of those levels over the years. The most notable examples of other creators who have managed to do this consistently are Blee and Zendergame, at least most recently. But what's crazy is that this level, out of all of them, Blee has a lot of good ones. Blee has Absolute Garbage, Change of Scene, Rage Quit. I'm not a big fan of Rage Quit because it just seems like a sort of like effects showcase. It's not really that much more interesting outside of that. Zendergame has White Space. He has a lot of really good boss fight levels. But out of all of them, the video that has the most is Nexus's video, with 53 million views. That is the most viewed video of Geometry Dash on YouTube, besides the literal trailer for the game and the showcase of Deadlocked from a certain someone who shall not be named. I understand why this level got popular, but to the extent that it had this amount of grip on the community literally makes like 0 sense. Like, it's pretty alright. It's pretty good, even. The designs are technically, good. It's a very technically good level, but it suffers from a lot of problems, and I think the main reason it got so popular on YouTube was because of the fact that it's a lot nicer to look at on YouTube, but when you're playing it, it is a completely different story. Not only does the screen actually just hurt your eyes, but hearing the specific song play over and over again makes your ears literally bleed, dude. Like, I actually went to the emergency room and it was like, actually they had to have a mop or something. That's not true, but that basically describes to you how much that song hurts my ears. Maybe it's just because I listen to Beethoven too much, but whatever. The gameplay is generally okay, but there are a lot of parts that are either confusing because of just the way the decoration works, or there's some weird hitbox stuff that this level has. And I think it's probably because the creator of the level just prioritized looks and effects over playability, which I think is a general theme I see in some of their levels, even though it's not to the same extent as this level. To start out, the gameplay at the beginning plays a bit weird. The movements make some of it slightly unfair, I think, and the slope gameplay, it's unique. It gets consistent. But other than that, the movements thing, I think it could be a personal preference, so I don't think it's the end of the world, but we'll get to that later in the video. I actually really like the following ship parts design. It doesn't hurt my eyes, and the gameplay is actually, it's decent. It's easier, maybe that's why, but the gameplay is not horrible. Maybe if it were harder gameplay, the eyes opening would be a lot more frustrating, but fortunately the level, at least at that point, knows its difficulty. Then there's the drop. As a gameplay choice, it's not a terrible idea the way it works, and I think it's also good for a level like that to start the drop so soon. It makes it more exhilarating. So I don't hate it. And actually, there are parts where it's actually even, pretty cool and fun. Not necessarily innovative, but it makes interesting decisions that aren't horrible. However, at the middle of this point of the level, the main issue starts to come out, which is that the colors start changing to where it just ruins the level entirely. It literally hurts my eyes because of the bright flashes and how the colors operate. It's such a shame because, especially the specific part where this problem starts, the gameplay is still very interesting and the original design was good. Like, if they have just kept the original design, I wouldn't have hated it, but it starts blinding you for no reason. Next is the spider part, and again, it's a really cool concept. It just had poor execution even though like that is probably the most fun part to play, is the part where, you know, the eye opens and closes and the level itself blacks out when the eye is closed. That's a really interesting concept, and the gameplay itself was really fun. It synced well, and with that particular part of the song, it all just really worked well and tied together. But again, very poor execution. Obviously not too poor to where it became, you know, the most viewed video on Nexus's channel. The next part is a median of the level, right? It's not forgettable by any means, but it's also not doing anything super memorable, and it just suffers from the same problems the rest of the level has. The next part and concept should be a good break. I think it would have been a very good development for the gameplay to have it be a break, but because the moving objects, it makes it more tedious than enjoyable or a break. And maybe it wasn't intended to be a break. If it wasn't, I think that was a poor decision because of the part of the song and because of the fact that the boss fight is next up. In fact, I think that the boss fight is more of a break, to be completely honest. It's super easy, and you know what? It actually is really fun. It doesn't hurt my eyes as much, and it doesn't really have any glitches, but it's still blinding. Anyway, I don't want to harp on this point too much because it'll just get old. I say that, but then we probably have the worst part of the level. Maybe not the most blinding part of the level, although it still suffers from that problem. But the structures are really weird. The hitboxes are janky. You know, okay, whatever. Maybe I just have a skill issue, although I've beaten multiple extreme demons at this point, so I don't think that's it. The main problem I have with this part is when you get to the duel, there are literally invisible spikes that you die to. And this was, keep in mind, this was released in 2.1, so you didn't have built in to the game show hitboxes on death, right? You would have happened to have had Mega Hack, which probably most people at that skill level do not care enough about the game, or not necessarily that they don't care, but they're not playing hard enough levels to where Mega Hack really matters, or quality of life features that Mega Hack has really make that much of a difference. The fact that they just have random invisible spikes that you can only see if you have show hitboxes on is actually ridiculous. They shouldn't have done that. It shouldn't be that hard because of the way that the level is designed to just throw in like a solid colored spike. It didn't need to be anything complicated. It wouldn't have ruined the design. It wouldn't have made it any worse even. It wouldn't have diminished it. It's not like frickin' Amadeus where if there was one note displaced, it would have been diminishment, right? No, this is just a super simple fix that really, it shows such a lack of care put into the gameplay of the level. Why would you do that? And then we get to the finale. It's all right. Not much to say. Super chokeable, but I think I choked on it so much just because I wanted to be done with the level, and that made me mildly nervous. It's like Aeon Air says, the more nervous you get, it's probably because you are trying to rush getting out of the level, and I struggled with that a lot because of how irritating the level is. But I wanted to do my due diligence and actually beat it before I, you know, talked about it. Plus, I think I also just wanted to have another demon under my belt. I like seeing that number increase on occasion. Please do give some love to the creators' other levels. There's especially Funked Up. That level is funny because it has more eyeballs in it, so if you like eyeballs, play that level. But that is a super fun level, and it has good decoration and design as well. I also am making more videos about level creating, so maybe if you want some tips or some designs to take inspiration from, make sure to watch those. But as usual, thanks for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe.